I want to focus on breath a little bit, because the topic of adjusting your breathing or breathing correctly or breathing differently, however you want to frame that, like, fascinates me a lot. I guess especially because it picked up a bit of, in a way, mainstream sort of consciousness through Wim Hof and his personality and things like that. But what he does is quite important, I think, for the physiology of, every human being. So let's dig a little bit deeper into this topic. From your experience and how you teach this to other people, how does it really help alleviate anxiety and depression, let's say on a daily basis, if we do it right?
Okay. So our breath is our life force. Literally. How long can you go without food or without water? Days, right? But how long can you go without breath? We literally cannot live if we don't breathe. And our brain doesn't function, neither do any of our organs. So it's the one thing that our autonomous nervous system should look after, but we are able to change it. So what happens when you stub your toe, for instance? Then
usually I scream my wife's ear or something. I don't know. So depends on where we are. Yeah.
But what's the first thing? Generally, when we stub our toe, we go. Yeah. People take it. Absolutely, and we hold the breath, and then we wait for the pain, and then generally there's an expletive, or we shout or something like that. And I don't know if you'll notice, if you've ever been through any kind of heartache or grief or loss, then our breathing becomes so much shallower and smaller. And yet when we're in love, we seem to breathe so much more expansively. So there is something about the way that our state of mind influences the quality of our breath. And yet when you see a baby, when it's been born, it doesn't have to think about breathing. It just breathes, and its belly expands, and all it knows is to grow and expand, grow and expand, grow and expand. And that oxygen is part of that growing facility. So I'm a transformational breath practitioner, and transformational breath holds that if we can, certainly within a session, adopt a diaphragmatical breath into our belly, then we are optimizing, firstly, the primary muscle for breathing. So the diaphragm is the primary muscle for breathing. The rib cage and the chest muscles are the secondary muscles for breathing. And the shoulder and the neck muscles are the tertiary muscles. And in general, the tertiary muscles should only ever be engaged when we're in fight, flight, freeze, flop, or fawn. So any of the stress management, the stress response, when we need to fight, flee, or freeze, that's when our muscles go into tension, or we need to pump everything through. We have no time to think. And if we are breathing up here all the time, our amygdala thinks, our limbic system thinks that we are being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. So if I'm seeing someone who's breathing up here, they're using their tertiary muscles and they're using their secondary muscles. And it's impossible for us to utilize the full size of the lungs in order to be able to fully access, stimulate all of the other systems in our body by gaining as much, not necessarily just about oxygen, but the exchange of oxygen and the byproducts within our system. The subject is so big, it's really, really hard to condense it down into something that cleanly answers your question. But what I see is when you see someone who's very, very connected to and comfortable and balanced within themselves, you'll notice that their breath is deep. It's generally slow. It's generally balanced as well. Someone who is in anxiety or stress, they, as I said, are generally much faster in their breathing and bring with them quite a frantic energy.